And we're going to do the weekly review for days of the 19th through the 22nd. Obviously, I didn't place a trade on Friday. Overall, I feel like mostly I was trading good stocks. I had setups, and all the stocks I was trading, um, pretty decent entries actually, in most of them as well. Didn't really chase. Most of them were Cove trend trades, except for the one time I traded blue. Even then, I feel like there was a daily setup there, but you know, as you said, like if I'm going to counter trend trade, I have to have a written plan down. So at least starting to form one a little bit there. So let's just start with Nvidia. So the setup in Nvidia was tech sector. In the long big picture uptrend. We talked about this bar being like maybe a huge piece of evidence for some weakness, but there is kind of like an obvious level right here, and kind of innocent till proven guilty sort of thing. I mean, this could be a big guilty piece of evidence, but as we said, there's room to this to the next level. So just getting above here, we're thinking maybe there's a potential long opportunity. So on the 5 minute, just like where I entered, above the level. So after 10 o'clock, kind of this nice little sideways like 155.78. So I'm buying into compression. I like that. Obviously, in my plan, just like I got to have some kind of alarm set or something to let me know to get out of this in the day. Very fortunate that this gapped up, and I covered even before this kind of opening spike. I was hoping this is what was going to happen, but I just wanted to take the gift of like us even slight higher open, because it's chopped around on me for a lot during the day. So anyway, just like I think my entry is pretty solid here. Stock selection is not so bad. But this is like one of those deals. Okay, you got to have an alarm set, as we talked about, for maybe like opening range, but also for into the close. If I am like feeling sleepy or something, like I just gotta I got a position on, just throw an alarm so I can get up and get myself out of there, so I'm not holding overnight, because that caused me lots of mental anguish going into the next day. So after Nvidia, we had blue. So blue has come in a long-term uptrend. Making higher highs and higher lows. It's a biotech. Biotechs are kind of hot. Right when this is breaking out, there's definitely some weakness in the background that you pointed out. I think I was kind of seeing what I wanted to see in this, like just seeing the sideways and this volume blast. I was like, how did this, not just that the price went up, but like how did it go up? And you're right, like lots of down closes off the high. So once we tested up here, there really, wasn't a lot of reason to be going long. I mean, we are at the all-time high in a hot sector, and this is like one of the kind of leaders of the sector. So it's definitely like at least trading in a good spot. And my entry was above that level, long at 1744. After 10 a.m., kind of just like holding that level. So 44 is like somewhere right in there. So but so anyway, not like really chasing, just kind of like in the nice compression again. What's the difference in this? Like, got the background weakness, right? So maybe you're just looking for like more of a not a trend trade, like and we talked about measured move, right? Like the measured move in blue, this is about like $4. So here, we go up another like $4. So using the measure move objective, just kind of like we had gone up right off the open as well. We were holding above the level, but just like maybe like a wide range day in blue is maybe $10, so we're up there like $8. How much does it have left? So kind of putting in those things together, I think I got a pretty good exit. And this once again, I think the entry is pretty decent here. So anyway, but the difference, and we're going to look at Labu next. The difference between Labu and blue is just the daily chart, setup. So what's the setup on the daily is, let's see if I can get some of the shit out of here. So the setup on the daily is we are making higher lows into this obvious level, the 52-week high, which is kind of like a high level base, right? Like high level base. And when we have a high level base and we break out, expansion breakouts, what we're thinking. So we said 3 to 5 days of potential breakout. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. right? And on increased volume. So, in a sense, you're proven guilty. So you kind of look at my Labu trade. So once again, entry pretty solid. I'm like buying into consolidation. I wasn't chasing on a spike. Obviously there's no mirror here, but what's the difference, right, that we were talking about between this trade and blue is that, excuse me, is that we're coming off that range expansion. So, blue had some weakness in the background. Labu really closed down the previous day, but I'm talking about range expansion, so got to be holding trend trades, especially to the end of the day. So, while I had a nice profit, it could have been a lot better. And then, right, so just, once again, solid entry around 10 o'clock, notice that like none of my trades have come before 9:45, none of my longs, which has been pretty decent. I think really contributed to having a positive week and not having a losing day overall. Blue, again, counter trade. So what was the setup? We talked about the background weakness. So we had this, background weakness is all-time high, hard rejection. This lizard tail down the next day. The following day, closed at the very high of day, but on really reduced volume. So as you talk about, just like all the soldiers kind of like deployed, and like that's all the power that the buyers can muster. So when we got a naked gap Keltner open the next day, and we tested up and changed our character down, I was looking for that counter trend trade. But I've got the blue line basically marking the open. See how, I got stopped out almost immediately. I think my stop was just like way too close. And we talked about, for me, like putting my stop further away, so maybe reducing share size. I put my stop basically like I entered just after we touched VWAP and came back down. I entered there and just put my stop above this little like wick. Whereas, in the future, I would say, okay, well, VWAP is the next closest thing, and then the open. I'm going to put my stop above the open, right, just to give myself like an extra kind of barrier for, and then obviously the furthest away place is just right under the high of day. So, but then again, you can't risk a whole lot if you're going all the way up there. So just got to think about that kind of stuff. So yeah, if I'm risking $2, like when I'm risking $2 to make $2, like that's not really a positive like expectancy. So anyway, but I had the idea. I was not looking for a trend trade. I was looking for a scalp. And I think we just with like a little bit better stop here. Just the idea of like just putting it just a little bit further away, and maybe this keeps me in the trade and I get this little scalp. The bigger picture than that is, I think, just like not taking counter trends still. Like I want to, of course. Like I'm starting to like be a little bit. I had a wholly positive week where I didn't have a losing day. Obviously, after coming off a week where I had nothing but losing days, so this is where I think I had to catch myself and stop pressing it. But like at least kind of in the ballpark, as you said, like kind of looking at the right stock at the right time. So execution being what it is, just have to develop a more cohesive and coherent plan for how to trade counter trend. That same day, we traded Tesla. So Tesla was just kind of going sideways for 5 days. So Tesla is in the consumer cyclical, really strong trending stock. Just tested the all-time highs and rejected and tested again, and then just going sideways. So there's no reason to say the trend just can't continue, but definitely just the setup was really these 5 days overlapping. So getting above that level was the deal. Intraday, we opened up, we tested down, and then went up. So once again, buying into consolidation. I think like that's a pretty common theme of like why I had like solid trend trades. I was in a position of strength most of the time for my trades because I'm not chasing. I'm not buying at the end of this move here. I'm buying like after the move and then waiting for the pullback, waiting for consolidation. So I think that like really reinforces why I had such a good week because my entries were pretty solid across the board, and I gave myself appropriate stops. And then, held this pretty much as far as I could. The all-time high was like somewhere over here, maybe like right here. And we broke out and then came back down, broke out, came back down. So I was just like, okay, whatever, just like sell out. And so, had a nice little chop. Obviously, Tesla is a really expensive stock, and I can't like buy too many shares. But, if I eliminate that counter trend blue trade from my day on Thursday, like then, I don't have a losing trade in this winning day is a little bit better than it was. So anyway, but was profitable every day this week, as we can see in the review. It's definitely due to solid stock selection, solid entries. Exits definitely need a lot of work. But if I can just like focus on those two things about like trading good stocks and getting in, with like one of my plans. This is definitely like a prior resistance becomes support entry, also called as a flag, right? Blue, you call the entry a flag, like prior resistance becomes support as well. Nvidia, that was definitely like a high level consolidation. Labu, definitely another like high level consolidation. So anyway, I think just like all those things, like reasons, like entries that I planned on, taking nothing but those entries, trading good stocks, not chasing, entering into consolidations or flags, like a lot of the reasons why I had a successful week. So I want to keep it rolling. I've got about 8 trading days left before I'm back in the States. So I will miss the day of July 6th because I'll be traveling, but I will be back for the 7th. Once I land in Memphis that Friday morning, I'll be trading again. So just like basically just like want to finish strongly, as far as like having a good mindset going back into like Central Time, but starting to ramble here, just stock selection, entry, and then we'll start to work on the exits. But I think it's pretty evident like why I had some success after floundering so much the prior week. Anyway,